Hello everyone, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet and you are watching a new episode of Wojennik TV. Today I would like to open a box, a big box with a new game that I received some time ago. A game that covers a very popular topic concerning World War II. It's a tactical game concerning the struggle on the Eastern Front in the years 41-42 between the USSR and Nazi Germany. The game is called Old School Tactical and it's the first volume in the series Old School Tactical. It's a game published by Flying Pig Games. That's a designing company which started its adventure on the gaming world in 2015, and Old School Tactical is one of the first games published by this company. The game was published twice on Kickstarter thanks to a crowdfunding action on Kickstarter. The first one made it possible to publish the core game for the first time, but when it got published, many players requested a reprint. The game was once more launched on Kickstarter. Another successful campaign helped to publish the game once more and to bring it to more players interested in trying this system. That's a tactical game in which two players will take the roles of commanders of German troops and US and Soviet troops. So the box is really big, it's heavy. I will gladly open it and take a look at what is inside. The author of the system is Shane Logan, a Canadian, and the game was also published thanks to Mark H. Walker, who was responsible for both the Kickstarter campaigns. So now let's take a look what is inside this huge box. So this is the huge and very heavy box of Old School Tactical. On the cover you can see, as I mentioned earlier, that it's the volume 1 in this series because the game comes with additional expansions. The system is a system that is growing and new games are published. This one covers the Eastern Front in the two first years of the struggle between the USSR and Soviet and Germany. On the cover you can see both the logo of the company, the names of the designers, and a tank in a winter scene passing through a city because we can see a building. On the back of the box you can see how the board or the map should look like with some counters on it. You can read about what the game is about, and you can learn what are the basic information concerning this game. So the list of components that should be included inside the box and the information concerning the minimal age of the players, which is 14+. It's a game for 2 players and the playing time should be between 1 and 3 hours. That will depend on the scenario because the game includes many scenarios. Let's take a look inside. Alright, having opened the box, we can see a scenario booklet which includes all the scenarios in this base game. And there are many scenarios. I do not see a page number, but as you can see, there are many scenarios that will be possible to be played. What's interesting is that this document comes in a horizontal formula, so you have to read it that way. All the scenarios have a name, have a setting, and some special rules, some additional information concerning victory conditions, and the list of the counters that both players will need to play the game. So that's nice because you can virtually see what you need, and it's a lot easier to search the right counters when the scenarios are written in such a way. The booklet is in color, great to use, great to read. The second document is the rule book, and I'm a little bit surprised because it's only 22 pages long. So that's interesting because the game is rather huge when we look at the box, but the rules seem to be not such a very detailed system. That's good, but I'll see after having read the rules. Now, the rules are prepared just like the scenario book in a colored document with a lot of examples, with a lot of pictures. So it's gonna be easy to learn. I hope so, at least. There are some colored parts. We have a lot of points, so that should be easy to search and look for the rules that we need during the game. All right. Then we have two player aids. Both contain terrain charts, additional rules concerning off-board artillery strikes, air strikes, the sequence of play, and some tables, infantry combat table and vehicle combat table. But both those player aids are just paper thin, so that's a little bit surprising. I thought that all the components will be sturdy and those two will need to be laminated, I believe so. Then we get some dice, 4 black dice, standard, cards, and those cards are not too thick, but how do they look? All right, so now here we have some luck cards, the name of the card, what it does, some graphics, and what is nice is that all of these cards have some pictures taken during World War II. So that's great because you do not receive only the text but also some additional climatic things. What I like is that the letters and the text is relatively big, so it will be easy to read. And besides luck cards, you receive also, I believe, unit cards. At least that it's what it seems to be. For example, an SS rifle squad with some stats concerning movement, firepower, range, defense, and additional rules, and also how the counter looks like. So my guess is that every player will receive both counters of his units, which he will be moving on the map boards, and also cards to control the stats of each such a counter. Vehicles with some additional information concerning range to hit, APFP, and the Soviet cards just look the same. All right, I like the cards. They seem to be very helpful, and as I mentioned earlier, I like the fact that the text is well laid. It's sufficiently big to be written even from a long distance. So that's a good idea. Then we have counters. Then we have the counters. First of all, the Germans with some SS units in black. Other units are gray with some vehicles. The counters are thick, nicely aligned, and all of these are of course die cut. That's great because nobody will need a rounder or a counter clipper to round the corners. So These look very, very fine. I like them very much. The vehicles will become wrecks during battles. Then we get another sheet of counters, and this time we can see how the Soviet units will look like. Some NKVD units, Guards units, and Soviet vehicles, which, just like their German counterparts, will become wrecks. The third counter sheet is a counter sheet with some additional markers, so control tokens, immobilized counters, main gun broken, etc. Those will be used to control some statuses or information about units of the sequence of play. And the fourth counter sheet, this one includes both Soviet and German units and some additional counters, for instance, shaken or fired, moved. So as I said earlier, all these counters are very thick, very nicely done. Great, I'm very impressed. That's something fantastic. And then we received two map boards. This is map board. This is the map number 2, which seems to be presenting a winter scene. And the second one, the first one, map number 1, seems to be presenting a scene in summertime or in spring. I'll now pass to the maps, so let's take a closer look at both of them. So now this is map number 1. Map number 1, which, as you can see, is a map presenting the USSR or some other regions of the Eastern Front during spring, maybe summer. So the board is mounted, it's very thick, it's very, very pretty. We get some information about the terrain. On the borders we get some tracks, for instance, to mark impulses or to mark turns. But the map takes really a lot of space, and it's one of the reasons why the box is so heavy. The hexes, as you can see, are numbered with a letter and a number. So we get, for instance, hex R11 or Q10, etc. I can see that there are some triangles which will be used to mark the differences in elevation, red triangles, blue triangles, and some dots at the center of the spaces. We get some walls, crops, so a lot of different terrain structures. And the hexes are big, but the counters are bigger than in standard war games. So that's map number 1. Let's take a closer look at map number 2. Here is map number 2. It's a winter map, very different from the first one, not only because of the white color, but also because of the terrain structures that we receive. It's very different from the first one. We do receive some rivers, a bridge in the middle of the map, some buildings, more buildings than on the first map, at least that's what I think, some crests. So the terrain structures on this map are very, very interesting, and I find the map even prettier than the first one. Just like the first one, it's also a mounted board, a huge big map on which the counters will be placed. Some additional tracks, the tracks are the same as on map 1, so some additional information, a terrain chart, an impulse chart, a turn chart, a turn track. Very interesting. All right, so that's map number 2, and that's all the components of Old School Tactical. Let's just take a look at all the components once more. I'd like to sum what I found in the box. Now, the box of Old School Tactical is not only huge, it's not only heavy, it's full of great components. What I like the most are the two maps, the two mounted maps, which are huge in size, but also seem to be very functional. They are beautiful, they are very nice, and as I said, I believe that they are very functional. What I like are the counters. They are thick, very well aligned, and they are die cut, so no buffering, no rounding, no clipping. The counters will be just ready as they are. What I didn't like were the two player 8 cards. They will need to be laminated because it's a simple paper. Both the documents of the rule book and the scenario book seem to be nice, seem to be well written, but I'll take a closer look at them and I'll give you some more info about them when I'll be ready to prepare a review. I can't wait to play my first game, so I'll just jump inside the rulebook and read how the game works. Thank you for today. That was Old School Tactical from Flying Pig Games. Take a look at our other films and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.